Okay, so for this topic 2.2 inequalities, our answer can be write in three forms. One is inequalities form, another one is set solution, and another one will be interval form. So for example, so how about for example inequalities form? Let's say our answer is in this kind of pattern. Then our set solution can be writing in using set, or if you want to write in interval, it will be an open bracket 2 to 5, 2 to 5, because they don't have any equal size, so 2 to 5. So if let's say our inequalities is in this pattern like less than 0, so therefore our set notation also write it in using set notation, open the curly bracket and use the curly bracket. Then our interval form will be negative infinity to 0. So not include lah, I'm doing here. So how about is we getting the answer in this kind of pattern like x greater than a value. So if like x greater than a value, in set notation, it will be like this. So if interval form, it will be 5 to infinity. So this is the way we can use to write our answer. So depends on the questions. If a question asks you to find the set solution, then we using the set notation. If the question asks you to find the interval form for those questions, then our answer will be in this type of pattern. If the question doesn't mention anything, then it will be up to us to present our answer in this kind of pattern, whatever, 1, 2, 3, either one to be shown. So in this chapter, inequalities and equation. Last week we learned about equation. So in this week we learn about inequalities. There are two different fields. So whatever technique you use to answer equation, it doesn't means that you can apply to inequalities. So kalau nak buat inequalities, cara dia ada cara dia tertentu. Equation lah, inequalities lah. You cannot miss out the method. So for these inequalities, we have three types. This is you learn it in your lower form, linear inequalities, where you meet the x only. And then second type is quadratic, when you're meeting your x squared. And so this is what you do in your form 4, form 5. And then for our level, we will learn up to rational inequalities, where our x will be at denominator, or our x will be power to -1. So before we doing inequalities, that is very important that you can identify the sign. So for this sign, greater 0, so I put a love here, or greater equals 0, they got the meaning, means we are going to find the answer in positive region. So whatever our answer, we are finding in positive region. Because for inequalities, when you want to solve, means when you want to find our x, we are finding a region. It's not our finding a value. So in equation, kalau dalam persamaan, when you solving, it will directly x equals to something. For inequalities, when you're solving, it will be like x greater than something, x less than something, or x in between the numbers. So it will be give you a range of the numbers. So this is our range of the number. So actually it will be a region of it. So when we do inequalities, so make sure your right hand side always is 0. Then only you can read out the region correctly. So when it greater than 0 or greater equals to 0, we will find the answer in positive region. If we have less than 0, so in this topic, if we have less than 0 or less than equals 0, we will find the answer in negative region. So of course, in this topic, it will involve another definition. which is N and R. So for N, it will be a different concept, and R will be a different concept. But these two concepts, we learn it in chapter 1, where N means intersection. R means we will find the region that will be union together. So N for intersection, R for union. So when you're meeting the concept N and R means for N, we are going to shade. So this is your topic 1. We will shade the overlap region. So for all, you will shade all the combined region. So that will be meet in this subtopic 2.2 and 2.3, the concept today. Okay, so make sure when you're doing inequalities, we must have a definition that at the right hand side must be 0. It cannot be a numbers because it will be conflict. Let's say if this one is a number greater than 5, we cannot define it as positive region. Why? Because we still have number 4, number 3, number 2, they are still positive. So whatever definition the standard value is at right hand side is 0. Then only we can define that yes, greater than 0, whatever greater than 0 is positive. Whatever less than 0, it will be negative. So this is like a bit of basic concept come from your chapter 1, where your 0 is neutral. If you still remember, 0 is neutral, more than that, positive, less than that, negative. So we are finding the region. So today, working is all finding the region, whether region positive, region negative, or whether region of intersection or region of union. Okay, so just now I brief you, we have 3 types of inequalities. First is involving x. So with involving x means that will be a linear type. So we have 3 types, yeah. So make sure every time you get the questions, you identify the questions. You must know this is linear inequalities where you're meeting the x only, so you can see the questions here. This is x power to 1. So if you're meeting your x in the x squared, x power to 2, the highest power of x is 2, means you are in the concept of quadratic. So each level of inequality solving method will be different. So linear, it has its own way. Quadratic, it has its own way. And also rational. Rational means you can see your x at the denominator. You can see your x power to -1. So you can see the example here. You see, this is not rational. This is not rational because this is linear. This is supposed to be x power 1. This x power 2 should be quadratic. So don't misunderstanding say that this is pecahan. So this is rational inequalities. No. So for rational inequalities, the definition will go to when the x is sitting at denominator. When the x is power to -1, then the way of solving it, we will use the way of rational inequalities. So we go to the first inequalities first. First concept of inequalities first. So before that, do you have any questions? Okay, so we go to the most simple inequalities here. Linear inequalities when we're meeting our question in x only, whatever x. So make sure we have to rearrange and simplify the question first. We will gather all the x to the left hand side and those non-x to the right hand side. So when you moving the things, when you gather the x and moving the things to the right hand side, remember you have to change your sign. So this is what you need to do. You need to change your sign when you meet the situation that you multiply with negative value or divide by a negative value. So you need to change sign. This is what you need to remember. So let's say you can see the example here. So you can see this example A, it will be a linear x. What can we do? So we'll gather the x to the left hand side, 3 to the left, 3x to the left hand side, -3x. And then 3 to the right hand side will be -3. So this is -4x. less than 5. So at this moment we didn't change the sign yet, but for the next step, because for the next step we are going to divide -4. So we are in this concept, negative -4. What happens if we divide -4? We have to change sign. So x, at this step we are doing divide -4. So at this moment directly change the step straight away, then only we simplify our answer. It will be -5/4. So this is the one form of our answer. In inequality form, we can write it as x greater -5/4, or in set notation, we use the curly bracket, or maybe number 3, we write it in interval form. So interval form will be not included, open bracket, greater than, so means it will go to infinity. So this is how we answer. We have three kind of answer, and then this is how we solve our linear inequalities. When we say solve means we are finding the x. We're finding the x. So therefore, for linear, we can simply gather the x to the left hand side, the value to the right hand side. Then that's how we're going to simplify. Okay, so we come to the concept why we need to change the sign when we times with negative or we divide to negative. So for example, here, the concept like, okay, I give you a number. Let's say I give you a number which is 2 and 5. So 2 and 5 means 2 will be less than 5. This is the status of their inequalities. Alright, so we can see all the operation when we moving from positive to negative, with minus, we adding, we didn't change sign. But when we dividing negative value or we timing negative value, we need to change sign. Why this concept will be whole like that? So we see the concept here. So if let's say I adding something, when I add a number to these inequalities, this number become 4, this number becomes 7. So they still hold the properties of inequalities. It didn't change the sign. So if I minus something, let's say I minus 1. So for 2 minus 1, we will get 3. For 5 minus 1, we will get 4. So it will still holding the same inequality. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so when plus something and we minus something, it doesn't change the status of the inequality. So therefore, when we moving when we from positive go here, we minus. So for this adding, we go here, we minus. So tambah tolak, dia takkan ubah status inequality tersebut. So cuba kita tengok. If we multiply with positive number, if you multiply by 2, so this left hand side 2 will become 4. This right hand side 5 will become 10. Okay, so when we time with positive number, it still hold for the inequality sign. So how about when we divide? If we divide by 2, this will be 5/2, means 2.5. So 2.5, so 1 still less than. So you can see adding, minus, and then time with positive, divide by positive value, they are just fine. The status of properties, the status of inequality, they didn't change. But if we want to time with negative, let's say we time with -2, for this side it will become -4, for that side will become -10. So definitely this will affect the status. You can see the status -4 and -10. -4 is greater than -10. So -4 is not less than. So that's why when we times with negative value, so we need to change the sign. The situation changed already. The status changed already. Alright. So we still can see if what if we divide. If we divide by a -2, so if we divide by a -2, this left hand side will become -1. This right hand side will become -2.5. So obviously -1 is greater than -2.5, it's not less than. So from here, I hope you can understand why when we times negative and divide negative. That is the reason why we change the sign, because the status of the inequality do not hold anymore for negative times negative and divide negative value. So dia sudah bertukar status dia. Okay.
Yes, Miss.
So for next example, so we can see the X. Don't see the fraction like this. You see the X. Awak bukan tengok bentuk. Awak tengok konsep X dia. X is linear. So means for this part of X, we will maintain it at left hand side. So the others will move it to right hand side. So bila tambah satu, then that is alright, just tambah, tak ada usik apa-apa. So when you want to move the 2 to the right hand side, we want to move to the 2 to the right hand side, I just multiply by 2. So multiply by 2, it didn't change the sign, so x less than 8. So that is one way of our writing answer. If I want to put in set notation, I just use the curly bracket. So if I want to put in interval form, it will be, because less than 8 means it starts from negative infinity until 8. And then we see the 8 here, not equal sign, means it will not include open bracket. So that is how we solve the linear. So linear will be quite easy. When we move the x around, we get the answer already. Okay, so we will continue for quadratic. How about when we meeting quadratic inequalities? So these quadratic inequalities will use back your Form 4 concept, your SPM concept. So for quadratic inequalities means when you see your inequalities, it might got x squared like this. So you can see, oh, originally the question you cannot see it clearly, but when you expand x with x here, it gives you an x squared, then you know this question is in the category of quadratic inequalities. So when you meet the quadratic inequalities x squared, first thing you must make sure your left hand side is arranged in order, which is ax squared bx plus c must be arranged in the general form of your quadratic. And then your right hand side, so bear in mind, always bear in mind when you want to doing these inequalities, your right hand side greater than 0. Your right hand side must be let the value in 0, so that we know later our answer will be finding in positive region. If our inequality later is less than or less than equal 0, means we are finding our quadratic in negative region. So your left hand side must be arranged in order, and then your right hand side must be 0. Then only we can see the answer correctly. Then after you arrange all your quadratic to the left hand side, ax squared become ax squared bx plus c. What can we do? You analyze your quadratic here. Is it you already simplified? Simplified means is it you already kecilkan? Kecilkan dia punya ABC. If your ABC like in even number, dalam kalau ABC awak dalam genap macam 2, 4, 6, dia boleh kecilkan. So you must kecilkan dulu, and then make sure your quadratic here, quadratic here is positive. Kalau awak punya quadratic negative, kita divide siap-siap dulu. Divide, simplify it. Simplify your quadratic here to be the simplest form, and then to be the positive form. Okay, so that's why after you simplify, then only we can do the factorize correctly. Sometimes when you're meeting negative quadratic, you cannot do the factorize correctly, so all the things will be a mistake. So a small mistake will be affect all the part of the answer. So make sure we always do positive quadratic. It will be easier for us, because your practice is when you're doing positive quadratic, you will have less mistake. When you're doing negative quadratic, most of them, 80% get careless mistake. You will get wrong. Okay, so our quadratic arrange, simplify it, then we have to factorize our simplified quadratic, then we graph it. Since we always maintain our quadratic in positive, so we only have one way of graphing. This is the smiley face one. So we graph our quadratic, And then we see our questions, because our quadratic already simplified, then we graph our quadratic, then we see our question. If positive region means you are going to shade above the x-axis. This is x-axis, so this is your above x-axis. This is our positive region. And this is our roots. This is our x1. This is our x2. So if your question comes with less than or less than equal 0, means we are going to shade the region of negative. x1, x2. So this is our answer. This is our answer. Then write our answer. So if your answer is in positive region, then means the x will be less than x1, then comma, x greater than x2. Or if your answer is in negative form, is in negative region, you can see this is our negative region, means our x is in between x1 and x2. So that's why x1 will be less than x, then less than x2. So if you getting the question got equal, kalau awak punya soalan ada equal, we just follow through only. So let's say if equal how? This is our x region. So that's why your x will be less than equal x1. And then this is our x region. Your x at the right hand side means x is greater equal than x2. Kalau soalan ada equal, kita ikut je equal. Kalau soalan tak ada equal, tak ada. So itulah cara kita nak tulis jawapan kita dalam quadratic. So you can notice here, this is the way we writing. So remember, when you solving the quadratic inequalities, means we solving the x, we are finding the region. So this is the region. Kawasan ini adalah di sebelah kiri x1. So that's why kawasan ini x ni adalah kurang daripada x1. Dan kawasan jawapan ini adalah di sebelah kanan x2. So x ni adalah besar daripada x2. Okay, so for negative region, kawasan ini adalah di antara x1 dan x2. So macam mana tulis di antara x1 dan x2? Maksudnya x1 adalah kurang daripada x dan x kurang daripada x2 because this is our number line. Ini adalah garis nombor kita. Nombor yang di belah kiri sentiasa kecil, nombor di sebelah kanan sentiasa besar. So bila kita tengok jawapan ni di sini kiri, maksudnya jawapan ini kurang daripada x1. Kalau jawapan ni di sebelah kanan x2, maksudnya jawapan ini besar daripada x2. So this is how we write our answer. Okay, so we can see an example here. So we go through susun, simplify, factorize. Factorize maksudnya letak dalam kurungan. Letak kurungan. Of course, this is your left hand side. Tengok right hand side always carry on. Kalau greater than 0, less than 0. So this graph, dan kita shade the region. We are finding region, we shade the region, then we get the answer. So we can see our example here. Okay. So for our example here, let's say we have a quadratic here. We expand first. Anything we have to simplify. For this topic, the questions come for you, they won't simplify for you. They will give you a raw equation. You have to simplify yourself, arrange yourself, then only you can know this is what kind of category. So expand this 3x with x, 3x squared, 3x with 5, times with 5, negative 5, 15x less than equal 4x minus 6. So when you expand, you can notice, oh, this is the question involving the highest power. You can see here quadratic. So in quadratic manners, follow the method to solve. So arrange. So arrange means start with x squared, and then this x you have to move to the left hand side, become negative 19x. And then this number you have to move to the left hand side, become positive 6. So let the right hand side to be 0. Okay, so we are achieving the pattern here where ax squared bx plus c at your left hand side and then 0 at your right hand side. So we already had here arrange. Yes, we arrange. So right hand side is whether greater 0 or less than 0. So follow question got less than and less than. Then second step, look at your quadratic here. Is it in the simplify? So 3, 19, 6. Okay, 3, 19, 6. This ABC doesn't have any common factor, so we cannot simplify it. Means this quadratic already simplified. And then this quadratic, is it positive? This quadratic, yes, it is positive. Then we can proceed to next step. We are going to factorize. Okay, so we are going to factorize it. We can factorize it. And then we are going to graph it. So never do equal things at here ya, because we are doing inequalities. Awak jangan pergi tulis X sama dengan apa-apa tak. Awak boleh tekan calculator. You can find it from your calculator where A is 3, B is negative 19, C is 6. And then when you key in all the value, you can see the answer. You can see your answer X is equals to 1 over 3. Another answer is 6. So when you're looking at your answer, you graph it. The smaller value, nilai X yang lagi kecil di sebelah kiri. So kita terus masuk kepada graph. So X 103 at left hand side, 6 at right hand side. So therefore our factorization will be 3x minus 1. This one will be x equals to 6, so mean x plus 6. But in our working, x minus 6. In our working, kita tak tulis X sama dengan 1/3, X sama dengan 6. Kita tak tulis because this is equal. This is solving quadratic equation. Yes, we write it up, but we are solving quadratic inequalities. We are finding a region. We are not finding a point, a value. So this is what we didn't write. Kita tak tulis ya. Kita terus kepada graph supaya awak boleh nampak kawasan dia. Okay, kawasan. Nampak kawasan tak? Kawasan. So, by referring to your quadratic that you already simplified here, it is less than 0. Meaning that when you find less than 0 means you are finding negative region. So we are going to shade the region under the x-axis. Region under x-axis dia negative lah. Region above x-axis that will be positive. So after we shade that, so you can see all follow through the working factorize graph, then shade. After we shade, we put our answer. So this answer will be in, so 1 over 3, so will be less than, we got equal, yes, we follow the question got equal. So this is the first form of our answer, which is inequality form. Or we can put in set. Or either we can put in interval form, means we will start from 1 over 3 included until 6 included. So this is how we solve our quadratic inequalities. The question might change, okay? The question might change. So the example here given here is I'm giving you negative region. So what if you're getting the question in positive region? Like let's say after you factorize your quadratic, you graph your quadratic. So concept still same. The smaller value of the x at left hand side, bigger value of the x means the bigger value of the roots. Roots is root at right hand side. So for greater than, so you can see, refer to your factorization here. Your symbol is in greater than, more than 0 means positive region. Our region will taking above the x-axis. So after you checking the region, straight away we can write the answer. This region is less than equal 1 over 3. Comma means another part is this region will be at right hand side of the 6. So kawasan ini adalah di sebelah kanan 6. Maksudnya kawasan ini adalah lebih besar daripada 6. Okay, so that is our first form. Second form we can put in set. You can put a comma or you can put a or also can. Or maksudnya macam ni. Or. Nak buat comma, nak buat or boleh. Yang lain selain daripada tu tak boleh. Dua je kita boleh terima bentuk tulisan or ataupun comma. So kalau for interval form, the writing way will be different. Sebab dia ada dua kawasan kan, ada dua kawasan jawapan kita. So untuk kawasan ini, start from negative infinity until 1/3, close bracket. So this is one part of the answer. Satu kawasan dah. Sambung lagi. So you will say union. Another part will be 6 to infinity. So only interval form you're using the symbol union. Interval form kalau awak sini tulis or, salah. Okay? Cara penulisan matematik. How we use the mathematic symbol, that will be very important. The writing of the symbol. Or boleh ganti sini, comma sini. Or boleh. Tapi untuk interval form, tak ada penulisan or ataupun comma. Kalau for interval, you want to write your answer, if you have both region, then we will continue by using the symbol of union. Maksudnya sambung, combine that region.